Breaking down Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Good Monday evening. Welcome into the High School Fan Zone. I am Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score. You can also watch us on Fox News Now, I believe. I think so. I think that's the truth. We are going to talk a little bit of football with Estacado coach Eric Ward, who is en route to the studios. Then we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk some volleyball. We're going to talk to what I think right now, with all due respect to the other teams, are the two best teams in District 5-4A in volleyball. I believe they're still ranked number one, the Liberty Lady Patriots. Caitlin Anderson will be here, maybe with a couple of girls. And then Whitney Gibson from Memorial, the first-year program, they lost to Liberty, but I've seen them play several times, and I really believe they are a playoff team to be here in their first season. We're going to jump into the Matador Fan Zone when Eric Ward gets here. In the meantime, let's run through some football action from last week. Let me call up some stuff here. I do know that Estacado lost their game 63-34 in a shootout with number 2 ranked West Plains out at Lowry Field last Friday. I'm curious to get Eric's take on that. We had a guy out there covering it, and I think there were some good things, including the fact that Eric's oldest son, Jayrick Ward, stepped in and played some quarterback in that game. Elsewhere around the Hub City and the area, Friendship got its first win of the season, 61-14 against Wichita Falls Legacy. Lubbock Cooper, in a really good game, beat Tascosa 20-14. Liberty stayed just white hot. They beat Monaghan 66-7. That game was pretty much over at halftime. Coronado did not have a fun time going down to Abilene. They got beat 70-14. The Mustangs have some answers to come up with here pretty quick. Monterey had the long trip to El Paso, and it got a little bit longer with a rain delay or lightning delay, and then a little bit longer yet when they lost 49-42 in a shootout down in the Sun City. Lubbock High last Thursday, we talked a lot about that game. Last Thursday beat Snyder 48-21. That was the Westerners' first win of the season. I mentioned Estacado losing 63-34. Let's see what else we got here. Lubbock Christian, that was the game I covered. Lubbock Christian, that's the best game I've seen so far this year. They beat Stanford 43-35 in a game that went back and forth. The Eagles had to make a lot of plays in a lot of ways and figured out how to do it. Chris Softly has that team playing well right now. Trinity Christian got their first win 35-0 against Denver City. Let's see. Plainview went up over to Hereford and eked out a 41-39 win. That's a good win for the Bulldogs. They're now 2-1. Levelland took it on the chin, lost to Idalou at home 32-13. Kingdom Prep, very quietly, is becoming a surprise team in the TAP 6-man ranks. They went out to Wichita Falls and beat Wichita Christian 64-0. And Christ the King beat Midland TLCA 54-6. So that's kind of a roundup of what happened last week. We'll talk about what's coming up this week. And just a reminder that we shuffled the deck here a little bit on the High School Fan Zone this fall. Monday nights tonight, you'll have Estacado, Memorial, and Liberty, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Tuesday nights will be Monterey and Coronado, 6 to 7 p.m. Wednesdays will be Lubbock High, Friendship, and Lubbock Cooper, 6 to 7:30 p.m. A rundown of the stations that carry high school football and high school sports on Raymore Networks. Right here on 100.7 The Score, you can hear Lubbock Cooper Athletics. Double T 97.3 is your home for Friendship Athletics. They will be on the air. Both those stations will be on the air. Dueling radio stations again for the big showdown in Wolford this week. Lubbock Cooper goes to Friendship in the HubCityPreps.com Game of the Week. Liberty games are on 93.1 Young Country. Coronado is on 96.9 The Bull. And Monterey is on 93.7 The Eagle. On Double T 97.3 and 100.7 The Score on Fridays. You can hear the West Texas Friday Night Preview show from 6 to 6:30 p.m. And then 9:30 to midnight, those same two stations will have the West Texas Friday Night Scoreboard Show. Archive shows can be found on the High School Fan Zone page at doubleTSportsNetwork.com. And make sure you download the app, the 100.7 The Score mobile app, to listen live or to listen to podcasts of all things Fan Zone. A lot of good stuff comes up on these shows. We try to have a little bit of fun once in a while. And we also talk a lot about high school sports. That's thus the name. I mentioned last week's scores. Let's run through the schedule this week. I mentioned the game of the week, which is on two of Raymar's radio stations. You can listen to one for one half, one for the other. Hopefully the game's close and there's reason to listen to the whole thing. Lubbock Cooper at Friendship, 7 p.m. Friday at Tiger Stadium. 100.7 FM The Score, Double T 97.3 FM. That'll also be live stream on Friendship's friendship.tv. I don't know if Lubbock Cooper will have a live stream out there or not. We'll have to wait and see on that. Coronado tries to get back at it. They go back down to Abilene to take on Abilene Cooper at Shotwell Stadium, 7 p.m. Friday. That's on 96.9 The Bull. Lubbock High hits the road for San Angelo. They take on Lakeview at 7 p.m. Friday at San Angelo Stadium. Down the radio station, or down the network, down the radio dial a little bit from us. Rob Burrow will have the call on that, though. Monterey is at home against Odessa High. That's on 93.7 The Eagle. And Estacado is down in Sweetwater to take on the Mustangs and the Mustang Bowl down the radio dial from us as well. We'll be back after this break talking more high school sports in the High School Fan Zone. I am Randy Rosetta. This is 100.7 The Score.
Diving headfirst into Estacado athletics. You're listening to the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the High School Fan Zone on a Monday night. We are going to talk some high school volleyball here in a little bit with Liberty coach Caitlin Anderson and Memorial coach Whitney Gibson. They come up in the next two segments. Since we're going to talk some volleyball, let's run through a little bit of volleyball action that's going on tomorrow night in the Hub City. District 3-5A they're 3 weeks into their district season. They started a long time ago. There's a lot of good volleyball going on there. Lubbock Cooper is at home against Tascosa, 6 p.m. Monterey goes up to Amarillo High at 6 p.m. Coronado is at home at 7 p.m. Lady Mustangs are playing really well. Lubbock High goes to Amarillo, takes on Paladuro. Estacado is at home against Lakeview. This is District 5 4A now. Estacado's at home against San Angelo Lakeview at 6 p.m. Liberty is at Big Spring at 6 p.m. Snyder's at Levelland at 6 p.m. We'll jump into the rest of that later because Eric Ward has joined us. Coach, how's it going?
It's going well. How you doing?
I am just talking. We're going to talk a little bit volleyball here after you get done here. We're switching gears a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Because the district that Estacado's in has got the number one ranked team in the state. I don't know if you knew that. Liberty Lady Patriots ranked number one.
Wow.
And then Memorial's got their new, but your girls, I've told
our girls are competing.
I've told Gloria and Kenneth this both in messages back and forth. They haven't won a bunch, but they're feisty. Gloria's making an impact. She's getting them to play hard, and they actually play Liberty at home on Saturday.
Yes, sir. I've noticed just being in attendance that the girls are fighting. They're finishing games and they're competing at a high level.
And I know on the off season she had a little bit more participation in volleyball. It's important in every sport, but volleyball is such a year-round thing that they have to kind of put their noses down and work a little bit.
Yes, sir. I sat down with Coach Maestas and we talked about the value of reps, and we came up with a plan to get the girls more reps, and she's initiating it, and the girls are showing it that they're going out there and they're playing at that pace and just playing more comfortable and knowing what they're doing.
I bet they break through and get a couple here.
Yes, sir.
Because I know, like I said, what did I say? They play at home tomorrow against Lakeview, which, all due respect to Lakeview, that's a game that they could get. Got to play number one on Saturday, but David beat Goliath once, so who knows? So,
yes, sir.
Let's talk about your game. That was not David Goliath. That was just two really good teams going up and down the field a little bit. West Plains got you, and they got talking to Mike Meeks at church yesterday. He said that it wasn't that you guys didn't play well. It's just that West Plains, you could tell, a little bit more experience, a little bit more used to what they're doing. Kind of your assessment of your guys against the number two. Like, your girls play number one, you got number two.
Well, I can honestly say our boys put up a great fight, and I think they always will. And at the same time, I think our boys are competitive, and they gave it their all. So, there's a lot of positives that I can take away from that game, just watching how our boys competed at a high level and went out there and started from start to finish.
You had a young man come off the bench and play some quarterback.
Yes, sir.
J-Rick Ward.
Yeah.
You posted something on social media. I know you're a proud dad, but how did you feel he did as his coach?
Well, the biggest thing was the nerves for him.
I can imagine.
I would say anybody being thrown into a rep or two that they didn't expect to get is probably, nerve-wracking, but I think he handled it well.
And he gave the ball to Cedric Ross a lot, which is pretty smart coaching and it's pretty smart quarterback. And when you give the ball to number 3, is he number 3?
Cedric Ross?
Yeah.
It's number 1.
Number 1, okay. Because I'm looking at these numbers and they don't look real.
Well, he's a special talent. He's a hard worker. He's an even better person. And so when you got all 3 of those going for you, the sky's the limit.
I'm going to read these numbers, and like I said, this is like video game stuff. Cedric Ross had 4 carries for 170 yards, had 3 catches for 150 yards. Let me count the touchdowns here. 4?
He had 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns. Do you do anything on special teams?
He made some tackles for us, but he does what he can for the team. That's what I love about him, and that's what I love about all our kids. They're very selfless. They're a cohesive unit, and they play for each other.
If you were trying to stop Cedric Ross, how would you defend him?
Man, that's a hard question.
It doesn't sound like West Plains had the. Now, West Plains had some answers in other ways, but they could. When number 1 got the ball, they were in trouble.
He's very explosive.
You're going to see more good teams as you go. I don't know that you'll see a better team for a while this season. So your guys got tested. So that's the good news. We're coming up on a break. We'll be back with Eric Ward in the Matador Fan Zone after this break on 100.7 The Score.
Your inside look into Estacado sports. This is the Matador Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score and the 100.7 The Score mobile app.
Welcome back into the High School Fan Zone on a Monday night. We are 3 weeks into the high school football season. Seen a lot of good things, seen some teams that need some stuff to work on. That's why there's 10 games in the regular season. That's why they play a few of these games before they jump into district. I think, if I was typing in schedules right, I think this is the last week when we won't have any district games. I believe 2-5A Division 1 starts district play next week. Monterey's at home against – we're not going to talk too much about that, but there's a couple of I believe Coronado – and Monterey jump into district play starting next week. So those games start to mean a little bit more. They've got a little bit more teeth to them. So Estacado does not start district for a while because they are in a pretty small district. I believe they are 3 weeks away, and they have a very challenging schedule. They follow this week up with, I believe they go I mentioned that, they go to Sweetwater. They play Randall here. And then I think they've got one more, maybe Andrews, before they get into district play. The Matadors are reigning district champs. They found their groove about that time last year, went 4-0 in district, and played really well to do that. I think we've got one ward and a small ward coming back with us here. Am I right, Eric? You guys don't start district for 3 weeks?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've got 3 weeks to kind of tighten some screws and get some guys ready. And you guys, for 3 games, I'm going to guess, now Joshua may not like me mentioning this, so you can have him throw darts at me if you want.
Okay.
I would think defense is one thing that you guys are talking about.
Yes, sir.
You've given up some points and yards. How do you kind of address that in these next 3 weeks?
Just get back to the basics, focus on the fundamentals and techniques of the game. Football is a simple game, but it's a lot of intricacies that you have to focus on to make sure you're going out there and performing at a high level.
You guys are not lacking of athletes.
No, not at all.
Plenty of athletes on both sides of the ball. Sometimes it's
just putting the right guys in the right position so they can make plays and play at a high level without thinking.
And I remember you said this at the first LISD luncheon that, yeah, you got some guys back, some big names back, but not a ton of guys back. So there's some learning curve going on.
Yeah, there's a little, kids that are going in and, learning on the fly, which is going to help them out in the long run, in the grand scheme of things. They have to, sometimes it's lessons. it's lessons and new experiences that'll get you there, and so it's all fixable.
Cedric's a guy who people know. Donovan Torres is a name that people know. Big V, Brashandrick Smith is a guy that people know. Who are a couple of guys that maybe people don't know about yet that you're kind of looking at?
So we we got Jerry L. Hawkins, we got Gary Brooks, we have Kevondre Smith, which is also Big V's little brother, but he's catching on.
How big is he?
He's about 320. He's about 6'3".
He is knocking on the door.
He's knocking on the door. He's a baby, but we're growing him up pretty fast. But
I know you have a big grocery bill. How'd you like to see the Smith family grocery bill?
I spend a lot of time with him, and so I do as much as I can to keep him happy.
Big V's playing a lot of defense too.
He plays a fair amount, but he's a competitor. He's what we call a dog, if you know what I mean. So he wants to be in the front to lead, and he's leading by example.
I can imagine people, when he talks, I would imagine people listen.
Absolutely.
You guys go down to Sweetwater this week, the historic Mustang Bowl. Have you ever coached a game down there?
Yes, sir. A few times.
It's kind of cool because you come down through the crowd. Mm-hmm. It's kind of got that old school feel. What do you feel like you guys need to do this week against the Mustang? I think they're 0-3, so they're trying to find some answers too.
Play. I always put the focus on us. No matter who we play, it always starts with us, and it starts in practice. And so just practicing at a high level. Cutting out the senseless penalties or mistakes, if you will, and just going in there and just playing team ball and holding each other accountable and playing at a high level.
I remember about this time last year, and talking to your guys later on, they said that it started to wear on them a little bit when you were struggling, and then something clicked in. Is this team a little bit better right now mentally, emotionally? I
believe so. They know that it always starts with the work, and I'll say it day in, day out. It's all about getting 1% better each day, and so sometimes you have to hold yourself accountable as well as your teammates, and so we're focusing on what we need to do to make ourselves play at a high level, and that's where the focus is this week.
This feels to me, it feels like a big game for you guys. If you get to 2-2, maybe gain a little bit of momentum, you play a couple of teams that maybe aren't quite as salty as they have been in the last few years. Randall and Andrews, you have a chance to take a little bit of momentum into district.
I would believe so, but again, we just have to focus on getting that 1% better each day.
You got to take them one at a time.
One day at a time, yes, sir.
Are you jumping on a plane Saturday morning and flying out to Utah for that football game?
No, I guess I'll watch this one, but I want to wish them well. They look like they're starting off to a great start, and I'm a Red Raider through and through.
No doubt about that. That's going to wrap us up in the Matador Fan Zone. We'll be back after this break in the Panther Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.